My name's Ethan Marcotte. I'm Beep on Twitter. I've also got that RWD account that some people follow. I am an independent designer. I've been based in Boston for a number of years now. Really excited to be here at NEJS CONF. I guess the main thing that I'm kind of known for these days is I coined the term responsive design a few years back. And so that's what the subject of my closing keynote was, really just kind of talking about how the web is kind of changing in general right now, both with mobile and also some emerging markets, and how that kind of influences the way we talk about design in general and responsive design specifically. Things that are most interesting to me about JavaScript right now, and I do a little bit of it in my daily practice, but most of my work is really on designing cross-device experiences. And I think if you're doing any work on mobile right now, it's important to be thinking about JavaScript, but also thinking about JavaScript responsibly. And so the amazing thing about NEJS Conf right now is most of the talks are hitting on things that I care deeply about, which are performance, deploying complex interactions, responsibly, so that, like Nicholas's talk on server-first rendering, and then bootstrapping the client from there. I mean, that's key for all the responsive experiences I've been working on, especially if you're dealing with anything outside of, more developed economies. The web is made up of a network that's not nearly as reliable as we usually think it is. So planning for that instability and then designing up from there is actually pretty powerful. The folks that I'm most interested in on the JavaScript community side are the ones that are thinking about progressive enhancement and performance. And folks like Zach Leatherman, who co-organized the conference, his team at Filament Group have been doing a lot of work and tooling around that front. And it's been really sort of gratifying to sort of see some of the newer frameworks coming out, like Bootstrap is finally getting on board with sort of server-first rendering, and React also is really sort of amenable to that as well. So yeah, I got a lot of heroes, but I'm definitely from the outside of the community. I think there are a lot of interesting preconceptions people have about responsive design when they first start working with it. One of the big ones would be around performance. A couple years ago, there was a sort of assumption that responsive design was somehow incompatible with building a fast front end. And thankfully, there have been a lot of people working recently to kind of overcome that myth, to build really flexible but also incredibly fast responsive UIs. So that's been amazing to see. But I think there's this larger issue, I think, in web design and development where we spend a lot of time planning and thinking about the highest fidelity version of our interfaces, the folks that are on latest iOS, latest Android, the top speed network connections. And that's not necessarily representative of the web as a whole. So, again, kind of thinking about how to deploy these assets kind of intelligently is actually pretty powerful. I think the thing that I usually love to spend more time on, Julia's talk on data visualization and Snap SVG is something that I've just found amazing in general, and she made it feel really approachable. So, projects like that, where she was showing this really amazing timeline of mass shootings in the US, but with an audio accompaniment, and then syncing that up into, some SVG-driven animations, that was really cool. And it's just a matter of finding the free time, I guess, to dive into technologies like that. The things that I do most frequently in my work, other than cursing at Photoshop and Keynote, I think they tend to be around, device testing is obviously a big part of my job, making sure that, even folks on lower tier Android devices are still able to get a decent experience, and then building up from there. That's definitely a big part of my work. And then I spend a lot of time in my practice just, doing in-house training and consulting with a bunch of different companies, who are either starting a responsive project or thinking about going responsive, and kind of talking to them about how it's not just about flexible layouts and media queries. It really does have a lot of ramifications for how they think about just collaborating internally and how it could change their design process. Every talk that I've seen at NEJS Conf has been really great. Christian Howland started the day off really strongly because he was kind of getting back, not into JavaScript specifically, although that was part of the talk, but it was really about the first principles of the web. Talking about a platform that's universally accessible by default, that is basically designed for reach and maintainability, and talking about how, not just as designers, but also developers, that we've sort of moved away from that in a lot of ways, and we need to actually keep some of those first principles in mind. And it's weird when this happens at conferences, but it seems like every talk is more or less touched on some of those principles. So we need to be thinking about, these technologies are amazing, we can start using them, but we need to be a little bit more responsible in how we apply them as well.
What's your favorite zoo animal and why?
My favorite zoo animal? Oh man. I'd have to say my favorite zoo animal is otters. Man, I just love watching those guys work. Yeah. That's it, yeah.
All right, bro. That easy does it.